Just imagine for a moment what it must have been like to witness what Peter, James, and John witnessed. The transfiguration of Jesus. Up until now, the revelation of all revelations for these apostles. And next, ask yourself, what does this transfiguration reveal to me? As Jesus stood in glory between Moses and Elijah, the apostles saw things they had never seen before. What did they see? What did they witness? What did they experience? In posing questions to RCI students or confirmation students, the answer most frequently given is they saw Jesus' heavenly stature. That it was real to them that Jesus was divine. They saw his divinity. They experienced his divinity. Okay, true. They did see his divinity. It's a pretty big deal. What else? What else is happening here? Let's dive a little deeper into the scene. What was seen and what was said. Because the words which came to the apostles from the heavenly cloud indicate that Jesus was revealed was more than just who he is. Just as importantly, those words reveal to whom Jesus is related. The revelation of the transfiguration does not center on Jesus' being, but on his connectedness to the Father. The words that come from the cloud are, "This is my beloved Son." What they reveal is this intimate, unbreakable bond of love, this agape love, this divine love that exists between Jesus and his Father. What these words proclaim is that Jesus is more than a prophet, more than a teacher. Jesus is God's beloved Son. And then the next words, God's words that come next are just as important. Listen to him. Listen to him. Why should we listen to him? What should we listen to? We should listen to him because if Jesus is in fact the beloved Son, then we who are baptized into Jesus are truly God's beloved daughters and sons as well. And that's a big deal too. The mystery of the heart of the gospel is that through Christ we participate in the intimate union of love that exists between the Father and Son. You and me participate in that. This is the good news. This is what we must hear and believe above all else. This is why we as Catholics believe what we read, why we teach what we believe, why we practice what we teach. Why is it so important to hear it, to listen to it, to believe and to practice it? Because the minute we forget our status as beloved daughters and sons of God, the good news evaporates. The minute that we begin to substitute some other identity in place of our identity as beloved children of God, the gospel starts to vanish. We as children of God are called on to hold on to and hold this responsibility for ourselves and for one another, but for the next generations as well. What a responsibility. What a gift, an honor, a privilege. I cannot think of a bigger mistake than to forget this basic identity that you are a beloved child of God. Yet sometimes it can be easy to forget this, or at least to forget the importance of this, or discount it, especially in today's world. And when we discount or ignore our status as beloved daughters and sons and begin to see ourselves primarily as sinners or as victims, as unlovable, as flawed or as unworthy, the power of the gospel can become lost to us. Do we sin? Are we flawed? Is there a sense that we are unworthy of this tremendous love that God showers on us? Of course there is. Of course there is. But always remember, no matter what, despite all of our flaws, you and I remain chosen and beloved children of God. And it is only by claiming our true identity that we find the power to turn away from sin, the power to heal our hurts, the power to claim the dignity that God has so freely given us. That's who we truly are, you and I. Beloved children of God, I can't say it enough. What's that feel like? What's that look like? I was a bit of a challenge to my parents growing up, just a little bit. Maybe a little mischievous, a little rambunctious, you could say. And I remember one day, I'm in the 3rd grade, and me and my 2 friends, Patrick and Gilbert, sitting in the cafeteria, we decided it would be a good idea to start a food fight. So I fling a piece of banana at Patrick, and he throws some squished grapes back at me. Next thing you know, our table and a couple others are going after it. It was kind of fun. It was fun till I ended up outside the principal's office, Mr. Roth. Now, Mr. Roth was a very good man, but I still knew I was in trouble. And then in walks my mom. Mr. Roth had called her up to the school. Glaring at me as we were walking into Roth's office, now I know I'm really in trouble. And Mr. Roth begins to tell my mom what I did, how serious it was, how disappointed he is in me, and then he says, I'm going to have to put this incident in David's permanent record. My mom agreed with him that it was serious and that I needed to be punished, but when he said it needed to go into my permanent record, well, she pushed back. And that's being kind. She really pushed back. There was no way that woman was going to let him do that. I remember him then reminding my mom again of how serious this was and that he didn't think she was taking it too seriously. And Mom said something like this, Mr. Roth, rest assured I'm taking it seriously. I already told you I'd take care of this, and David's dad and I will deal with him appropriately tonight at home. I'm thinking, great, Dad now, I'm really going to be in trouble. She reiterated again how she was against my initiating the food fight going on my permanent record, or any of the kids' permanent record, to which Mr. Ross just kind of looked at her. But what happened next is what I really remember. Mom's last few words. Yes, those boys did wrong, but they weren't trying to hurt anyone. They weren't being mean to anyone. And what you are forgetting, Mr. Roth, is that just as you know your children, I know David better and his heart better than you or anyone else. He's my son. Okay, perhaps a bit of a silly analogy, but when you think about it, really not. This unconditional love that my mom showed that day, this unconditional love that all of us parents hold for our children and our young people, this unconditional love that your parents show you, this is a glimpse of how God looks at each and every one of us. God never forgets that we are his beloved daughters and sons. For all of our faults, all of our failings, God continues to look at us with unconditional love. This is what we must listen to. This is what we must never forget. So the times when you find yourself in the valley, when you become discouraged, when you find yourself losing hope because of your faults, maybe because of your inability to be as patient or as generous as you would like to be, or maybe because of your inclination to be judgmental of others, or any other discouragements or hurts that you may carry, remember, God loves you with the same love that God loves Jesus. God loves you with the same love that God loves Jesus. When things are going wrong, when there may seem to be no way out, when you may begin to think that God is punishing you, remember, God's not about punishing you. God's about loving you with a love that never ends. When you find yourself in a moment where you may be overwhelmed with grief, maybe illness, maybe depression, or emptiness that seems will not let you go, remember, God's love for you is everlasting. You are not one among many people. You are unique and one of a kind in his eyes. Your dreams and your needs are always before God. He's there. And he knows you better than you know yourself. And just as he reassured Jesus, he too assures you. You are God's beloved daughter. You are God's beloved son. Listen to him.